how the hell did Canada become a place where, well, first of all, muckraking journalists are necessary, and they certainly are. That bloody CBC, right? It's $1.5 billion a year plus $600 million in advertising from the federal government to have no audience. They have no audience, right, except people over 60. And they've been struggling to get a purchase on YouTube for like 10 years. They've disallowed comments because that's how clueless they are. And no one watches their material. Like, they literally get hundreds of views, which means that even the staff that made the shows don't watch them, right? And so here we are in Canada. And Mark Carney's come along to save the Canada, but really to save the planet. And Canadians are daft enough to start, you can see the scales tilting in his favor, you know? I mean, we were going to decimate the Liberals because Trudeau's been such an absolute bloody nightmare catastrophe in his narcissistic and incompetent manner. And now Carney's coming waltzing in from the Bank of England with his ESG and his DEI and his net zero and his you don't need fossil fuels, peasants, or cars. And Canadians are lining up to vote for him. Jesus.
I saw an opinion poll about Trump's idea, his social media banter about Canada becoming the 51st state.
Yeah.
Now, I think he just likes poking at Trudeau. Trump is a master of the insulting nickname. Like, he's just got that
he sure
Manhattan.
is. He's definitely got, that's an art.
He's an entertainer, and he's a quick-thinking, mischievous fellow. So he met with Trudeau at Mar-a-Lago, and he detected certain
He didn't let him stay there that night.
No, and he poked at him a bit.
Yeah.
The thing is, 10 years ago, you would have said to Canadians who want to join the States, I think Canadians would say, no, first of all, we're wealthier. There was a point in time when the average Canadian, on an individual basis, was wealthier than...
Yeah, well, we've dispensed with that. It's 60% now.
There were a lot of things that the Canadians would say, you know, we really like America, but boy, we're glad.
We're good.
But what's happened over the last 10 years on everything, forget tangible things like money, mass immigration, crime. What about intangibles? What about a prime minister who took John A. Macdonald off our $10 bill, who says the country
has no national identity, but insults Daniel Smith for not being patriotic enough to sacrifice the Alberta economy to Canada, a Canada that's a patriarchal, oppressive, you know, what would you say, post-colonial, identityless state.
And he said those things in an interview with a foreign newspaper, nonetheless. It was the New York Times. But not just that, Trudeau says we're a genocidal country. And the genocide continues. He says we're sexist, transphobic. He, in so many ways, he makes grand apologies all the time, but not for himself, for the country. So you've had almost 10 years of him degrading and demoralizing and denaturing, cutting people off from our roots and our history and our culture and identity. So
and destroying the economy at the same time.
So if you're a young man, and you want to buy a home and start a life and get a job, all of those things, a lot of young people live with their parents till well into their 30s, not because of their failure to launch. You can't buy a home in Canada. It's twice as much in the States.
Well, we don't have much land, you know.
But all of a sudden, when Trump says, would you like to join the U.S.? We'll trade in your dollars at par. There'll be no tariffs and you'll have a strong military. You know, you're a young man. And for 10 years, you've been told by Trudeau that your country means nothing. It's just a hotel.
Worse than nothing.
And here's this strong, masculine guy who's commanding authority, and he truly is making America great again. And when he says that, it's plausible. And when he says
he's got these monsters like Musk on his side who are tromping through the grapevine.
And the world is bending the knee to him, whether it's the Japanese prime minister or a Korean investor or whatever.
And he just made a deal with the Japanese prime minister.
$1 trillion deal.
For a deal where Trudeau had, because the Japanese prime minister had come to Canada and Trudeau said, we can't make a business case for that.
So is it surprised that young men of all the demographics say, you know what, I'll take Trump up on that deal? I forget I think it was 43%. I think 43% of young men, I'm going from memory here, said, yeah, we'll take that deal. And that's without a campaign. That's just based on a few tweets.
Casual.
And Instagram. And there's many things to love about America. I mean, there's an amazing number of things to love about America. But imagine abandoning your history, your culture, your tradition, your borders, your institutions. That's how Trudeau has eroded in the country. And I don't blame Trump for finding that weakness and shaking it. That's what you do when you're America first. You get, and when you're negotiating.
And I don't think Canada's learned a damn thing from it yet. I mean, the Quebec premier came out this week and basically said there was no damn way they were going to put pipelines across the country. Right? You can't make an economic or a global case for that. It's like, hey, you know, have it your way, buddy. where do you think your transfer payments are going to come from if Alberta decides to pack up and leave?
I think that Mark Carney's ideas are 10 years too late. 10 years ago, carbon taxes, ESG, wokeism.
Yeah.
And he made a little statement the other day saying he's for wokeism. In his mind, that means inclusiveness. That's not what woke means one bit.
Yeah. So he knows exactly what it means. He knows to the degree that he knows what anything means.
He absolutely is the World Economic Forum candidate.
Absolutely,
but I think that
and a leader rather than a follower, because Trudeau was a follower.
Right.
Carney's a leader.
Carney is smart, and Carney is a doer. Like, you don't get those chairman of Brookfield, the
governor of the Bank of Canada and
Bank of England.
Yeah, well, and he looks to Canadians, and you can understand this. Carney looks like someone with vast international experience and credibility.
Gravitas.
Yeah.
He looks the part.
Yeah, he certainly does. Well, Trudeau looked a certain part to it quite effectively. But this is different. Carney has that senior statesman appeal, but values that, and then for Carney to announce his leadership as an outsider, it's like that icy. So you're going to start off
on
with
an American TV channel.
Lie. Hey, yeah. I'm an outsider.
I can't imagine any American candidate for president announcing their candidacy on a foreign network. Could you imagine Trump or Kamala Harris announcing they're running for the president of the United States on the BBC? Yeah. But absurdly, Mark Carney announced his candidacy in New York City. I think if Carney takes over, he's going to win on March 9th. Yeah. And then he's going to do a deal with the NDP, and he will become prime minister till October without ever having won an election.
I think they'll stretch it out till September of 2026 because there is some grounds for presuming they could do so. Well, look, what's the alternative? Yeah. At the moment, unless things invert in the polls, if Carney led the Liberals to an election, they're going to get decimated. So why would you do that?
Right. I'm also worried about foreign meddling. Carney is deep with China, communist China, and that's been a problem in Canada. There was the various CSIS, that's Canada's spy agency, saying that the Chinese Communist Party interfered in at least 11 electoral districts. Trudeau turned a blind eye to it because he was the beneficiary of that. In fact, communist donors would come and make donations directly to the Trudeau Foundation. I'm worried about ties to China, and I'm worried about ties to Iran. And I just don't think that Canada is going to survive as a first-ranked nation if the Liberals aren't turfed this year.
Are we a first-ranked nation now?
We're clinging on by our fingernails.
The only reason we're still a first-ranked nation is because Europe has done itself in at about the same rate Canada has.
And we're lucky that we're right next to America. Not only do we benefit economically, but a lot of their cultural discussions wash over into us. And I think, look what Trump has done on transgenderism in sports. He's just ended with a stroke of a pen.
Gender-affirming care, too.
Even small things like saying we're done with paper straws. Yeah. I know that sounds small, but show me someone who's ever liked that. And yes,
I like the paper straws that come in plastic, the single-use paper straws that come in plastic wrappers. I'm very fond of those.
But what does it say about a country that abides that stupid rule that no one likes, but we just abided it? We just accepted it. What does it say about the nature and of the character of 40 million Canadians?
It says that we're willing to virtue signal at our own expense.
And we saw that during the pandemic and the lockdowns when things went so hard in Canada.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And it was an opportunity for people to, I'll show my righteousness by being a voluntary, self-appointed enforcer.
Yeah.
The phenomenon that
people enjoyed that, man. Toronto was rife with informers. It was something to see. I certainly understand.
The mask patrols who would come up to you and give you. And here's the thing. And I know pandemic's gone now, but this said something about our character. If
we could have another one.
If you actually were worried about the virus, and you saw someone without a mask, you would walk away, you would run away, you would take your children and run. If someone with Ebola came into the mall without a mask, you wouldn't go up to them and say, hey, put on your mask.
You would if you were sacrificing yourself for the good of the planet.
Right. But there was an opportunity to be more virtuous than that person. But more to the point, I think this is what, I watched so many of those videos, and I myself was a bit of a mask, not wearing, a dissident. Yeah. So I had a lot of encounters. And it wasn't even virtue signaling. It was, I'm worried that if I didn't wear a mask, the rules would come down on me. There would be some consequence on me. So if you're not wearing a mask and no consequences are happening to you, the world is out of joint. Right, and I made the wrong decision.
You're an indication of my cowardice.
I must fill the gap and be the consequence to you to justify my cowardice. So it's not so much that I'm better than you. It's, oh my God, you're getting away with it and I didn't think I could. I better stop you from getting away with it, because otherwise what's my excuse for being so submissive?
Little bit of column. Well, and then there's the ever-present enjoyment in getting to rat on your neighbors. And we never want to underestimate just how pleasurable that can be.